GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola Podcast. This is podcast number 119, living the dream for the final time, and with me today, I have a lovely group of people who should introduce themselves.
Hey guys, it's Colee. Currently my cat is trying to snuggle me though.
Hi, it's James Pelster, and I closed my door so my cats don't interrupt me while I'm recording.
And I'm Joseph Martin. I don't remember if I said that before, and if I did, I'm going to cut this out of the podcast. And we're here today to talk to you about when we always talk about these times of years and these times of things. Nintendo Direct came out. It was a big one. There was a lot of stuff to talk about, and I think the first thing on everyone's minds, everybody wants to hear everyone's opinions on this. Super Smash Brothers, maybe 5, maybe not. What do you guys think?
I think it's not 5. I'm pretty sure it's just a port of Smash 4. I don't know. Looking at some of the stuff, obviously, I don't think they had really much, if any, in-engine footage, but, obviously Smash 4 is not really that new of a game, but I still feel like it's probably just gonna be a port.
I'll fight you on that one.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's going to be, only because of the fact that, look how many things they've already ported, right? They've ported a lot of things already. They're porting Hyrule Warriors, and they are I can't remember what other
Mario Kart, Mario Kart 8.
Well, yeah, but they've already done a lot of ports, so...
The reason I mainly think that is because in the trailer, they mainly just highlighted, the main focus of that trailer is just, oh, look, here's these couple of new characters.
But Nintendo's not going to reveal their whole hand right away. That would be dumb.
Well, no.
It's like, oh, here's every character ever.
Well, no, that wouldn't make any sense. But also,
because, like I said, I think that they've been doing a lot of ports, so that kind of makes me feel like that they want to have that opportunity to actually make a game, instead of just lazy, porty nonsense and just port it over.
But lazy, porty makes lots of money.
I don't know, Colee.
Look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
The fact that they've ported so many games, to me, seems like the opposite. That would give more credit to, oh, this is just another porting another good game for the Wii U.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Look at all this money that they can make by porting this game from the console that not necessarily many people are going to have to a console that way more people are going to have.
Oh, right. I just think that it takes more...
that was the reason they ported Mario Kart 8.
I just think it takes more time, resources to make a game, down up from just porting it over, is my point. So they're opening themselves to more time.
I don't see why that's an argument for why this is... Oh, you're saying it shouldn't have taken this long if it was just going to be a port?
Yes.
But,
I see.
Oh, I see. Okay. I guess, but also, heck, Luigi's Mansion is being ported to 3DS.
Yep.
Lego Dimensions? Is that what you said?
No, I said Luigi's Mansion is being ported
Lego
to 3DS.
Dimensions, yes.
If you want to talk about...
I heard you right the first time.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, but, if you're gonna say, and I think that in and of itself kind of proves that they don't necessarily spend all of that time, nobody said that Nintendo has been working on a port of Smash Brothers since the day the Switch came out. They may not have started work on the port until a couple months ago, or, 6 months ago. Because, obviously, Nintendo has not been working on this port of Luigi's Mansion since the system came out, or since Dark Moon came out. It's just a more recent port. So I still feel like it's very possible that this game could be coming out this late in, a year after the Switch has been around, and also still be a port.
I'm going to be a contrarian that everybody hates. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to say, I think it's both.
But
that's
okay.
not how it works.
I was about to say,
but,
how would it be both?
How do you have a game that's both new and a port?
Now that you've had your moment of confusion, this is what I'm going to say. I think that once the game actually comes out, we're still going to be arguing, not you and me and Colee and James specifically, but in general, we're going to be arguing about whether this is a sequel or a port. I think it's going to be the most similar sequel to a Smash Brothers game.
If it is.
Right. So, the idea is that they're going to be... people are either going to think it's a port that adds a lot of new content, or a sequel that's very similar to its predecessor.
Yeah.
And I think
that's assuming that there is a bunch of new content. We don't even know yet.
I think that's what that's what I'm saying. I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to add a bunch of new stages and characters, and like adding new stages and characters isn't cosmetic, but it's like just adding more content, but it is still like a fundamental part of a new Smash game is, oh, cool, new characters. Ooh, cool, new stages and items and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I think the core underlying game mechanics are going to be the most similar to the preceding game than any other Smash game was to its predecessor. Because, like, there's wild differences between the 64, Melee, Brawl, and Smash 4. Mm-hmm. And I think Smash 5's mechanics are going to be really similar to Smash 4. There's going to be a lot of similar iconography. Like, we're still using the same Smash Brothers logo with the fire. But I think it's going to add as much new, like, characters and stages as a new Smash game would, but it's not going to change the mechanics and underlying structure of the game the same way that sequels have in the past. That is what I think is going to happen. And I think some people, again, are going to say, this is a port with a lot of new content added, and some people are going to say, this is a sequel that's very similar to the original with some, stark similarities.
Yeah, maybe so. It all depends really on whether the core, like, engine is really changed very much. Because, I mean, if the game looks like... Because if they've added new characters, well, they did that to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They added new characters. They added new stages.
Okay, but just to stop you right there for a second, adding new characters to Mario Kart 8 is very different than adding new characters to Smash.
Is it, though? It's called DLC in the Wii U. It's called DLC in the rest of the gaming industry.
Right, but, like, in terms of how you play the game, it's purely cosmetic. Adding a new character... It can be. Adding a new character can be pretty much cosmetic in Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
But it's not the same way that it is in Mario Kart. In Mario Kart, it's just another skin that you can put on a light,
it's just another heavy, another medium, or another lightweight. It's not like, oh, this is a fighter with their own moves. But then what does that make the bonus characters like from stuff in Smash 4? Like the other characters that they added in there?
I would say the threshold for me would be bulk. Would be, honestly, if any characters don't come back, that would be telling. Because it wouldn't, like, think about it, would you consider it a port if they didn't take all the characters from the original game and put them in the new game? Which seems like a backwards thing, because...
that's a good point.
That would be weird, right? Because...
that would be a pretty telling thing.
The good thing would be to have all the same characters that you had before, but that would also make it more likely for people to call it a port. So it seems funny that removing content would be the thing that makes it no longer a port.
Yeah, well, because a port would be you literally copy-paste, and then an enhanced port would be you copy-paste and add some extra stuff on top. In order for it to really be a port, it would need to be at the very least have all of the stuff that was in the original. Unless it was like horribly broken or something, or just doesn't work on a new system, for instance.
If I were to go the most port, if we're talking about a scale of port to sequel, the furthest to the port side that I can see them going with this is maybe like 5 new characters. Because we've already got Splatoon. Breath of the Wild Link might just be a reskin, and we don't know what else. So only a few new characters, all the same old characters, and then adding in the 3DS stages. I'm pretty sure, considering like what they did with is it Hyrule Warriors where they did that, where they added in, they just combined the 3DS and Wii U elements of Hyrule Warriors together. I think it's almost a given that they're going to do that with whatever Smash. If it's a port, they're going to take both, anything from the 3DS and from the Wii U, and put them into the same thing. I think that's a given, because it's just so easy.
Yeah.
But I'm banking on that they're going to try to market it as an enhanced sequel rather than an enhanced port. Like, a very similar sequel is at least what they're going to market it as. Will people agree on that when it comes out? I don't know. I might not agree with Nintendo when that comes out. But that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be something that toes the line a little more, and it's not going to be this binary, either it's a port or it's a sequel. But I might be wrong. But that's just what I think it is going to be.
Interesting.
now that we've talked about that, I think we've said all of the things we wanted to say about that. Let's move on to the two other particularly relevant elements of this Nintendo Direct that came out earlier in March. The two games that were talked about in their Direct but have since come out. We'll start with Detective Pikachu, because that'll be shorter because none of us have played it. But I've seen a lot of trailers for it. It's got the giant amiibo, which if you haven't seen that, you should go look it up because it's weird. You should also look up the trailer of this game because this game is a very strange video game.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
I definitely like the idea of it, but I don't know if it would be fun in practice.
It's like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon meets mystery novel kind of thing. That's the closest thing I can equate it to.
How is it? Okay. Why? How do you feel it's like Mystery Dungeon? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, because, it's talking Pokemon.
I think that's a very loose connection.
I mean, that's why I said that's the best thing I can come up with. I can't think of anything else.
Okay. I don't think I think it's gonna, honestly, it's probably gonna be like Professor Layton Phoenix Wright kind of game, if anything. Like a puzzle, maybe not literally solve puzzles and these really segmented stuff. Mm-hmm. And obviously I don't think there's gonna be courtroom stuff, but I think it's gonna be very puzzle based. I mean, it is. But just have you seen the trailers, guys?
I have heard, yes. I've heard the voice. I know what Pikachu's voice is. I know, I recognize the voice actor, and it's bizarre to me because I am so used to that voice actor playing a completely different kind of character. I know the voice actor from one specific role. He plays Yasuhiro Hagakure in Danganronpa, and he's just total stoner. He's supposed to be a kind of hippy dippy fortune teller dude. He's just whoa, far out, man. So whenever I just hear that voice, I just automatically associate it with that character. And so hearing that voice come out of Pikachu is just so bizarre to me.
It's just Nintendo doesn't know how they want to portray Pikachu's voice. In the movie, because there was a movie that they redid or something, and
oh yeah, and Pikachu friggin' talked at the end.
Yeah, and he's like,
oh, I heard that was so weird,
and it was whoa, what voice is this for Pikachu? Weird. And then in Detective Pikachu, yeah, I'm walking. It's whoa, why do we have this gruff, weird?
I think it's
supposed to be a very different universe from what I've heard.
I think that's the joke. You've got this cute thing that says Pika, and it's really high pitched, and then you give it this really gruff, just a man voice of oh.
Yeah, the Japanese version is like that too. The Japanese version also has a super gruff, just deep voice. And I think it is meant to be a very bizarre. I think the bizarreness of it is intended.
The whole game
to some extent.
I will say that for the thing that you brought up, Colee, because I did look into that after that sort of whole thing. I think it was just a translation issue that they couldn't deal with, because in the anime version, in the Japanese version of the movie, they just had the person who voiced Pikachu actually speaking. And so it's oh, that's actually Pikachu speaking. That's the actual voice of Pikachu, the same person who goes Pika all the time. And so it kind of works better, and then usually in the dub, they just keep that because Pikachu just says Pikachu. Okay. You don't need to hire a whole new voice actor for that.
But then
when Pikachu speaks English, you have to get someone else to do it. And it doesn't work.
I think some of the times Pikachu is spoken in some of the, I don't know, there was some promo material, something I think Pikachu's voice actress, the Japanese voice actress, has occasionally done English lines for
maybe
Pikachu. I could be wrong. I could have sworn I remembered that Pikachu voice saying something in English.
I'm sure there's been promotional material where they've gotten people to do English voices, but I think the difference would be that it's never juxtaposed with the original.
Well, but I mean, yeah, that's the whole difference.
But in the English dub of the movie, it had to be juxtaposed with the actual voice actor, and so it was really jarring.
Okay, but then alright, I have a question for you then. Why do you think Nintendo has suddenly felt the need to try and give Pikachu a voice?
Probably just because they want to, open up the potential to have different spin-offs and stuff where Pikachu can talk. I don't know. I mean, do you mean in the movie, or do you mean...
No, in general.
Okay, in general, because, the movie was I have no idea why they decided to do that, because that was almost like a one-off thing. With the Detective Pikachu game, I think they've kind of made it clear that it's this is some alternate universe or something. In which case, I don't know, it's a very bizarre concept. I don't know who came up with it, or, how this game in general came to be, really. I mean, if anything, it opens up potentially more marketing opportunities. Oh, look at this. Now you can buy the all-new talking Pikachu action figure, or whatever it is. I don't know.
I don't know if you could call those two instances, though, a particular push to have Pikachu
Yeah,
talk.
these are two, just totally, out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting this, and it doesn't seem like... Nintendo, and they're both, aside from that one weird thing at the end of that Pokemon movie, this game in and of itself seems to be very distanced and isolated from the rest of the Pokemon franchise. For the most part, it has all the characters and that kind of stuff in the same general universe, but we have not seen an episode of the anime, for instance, or any of the games where Pikachu just speaks in English. So if that starts to happen, then I would start to question. That's when I would start thinking that they're trying to push this as something that is just going to be normal from now on. I think, as it stands, I feel like it's still more meant to just kind of be a one-off or two-off.
Let's move on, because I think we've said enough about a game that we haven't played. Colee, did you say that you've played at least the demo of Star Allies, or you've looked into it a lot? Or...
I own it, and...
Oh, you own it?
Yes.
And you've played it?
I haven't beaten it, but I've gotten a good portion of the way through.
Okay. Let's argue about it, because
Cool.
I haven't played it, but I've heard a lot of negative things about it, and I imagine you have some positive feelings about it. Or maybe you have negative feelings. I don't know. You just usually like Kirby games.
It's both.
I'm going to argue with you about it.
Go for it, fam.
Yeah, Joe argues with everyone.
You can't say go for it. You have to start.
Okay. So, I think,
I disagree.
Okay, cool. And let's go to the next segment.
Alright, next topic.
One of the things I will say that, really caught my attention about Kirby Star Allies was the art. The game is very gorgeous. It just looks phenomenal. And I think it was a pretty cool idea to add, the friend thing, because you can do so many things with it. There's a segment where you get into a warp star, and you can switch between the different abilities of your team, and you can go with that. You can turn into, this giant friend ball and just bulldoze over everything. You can make a bridge, and, you can get this little key waddle dee to get across gaps so you can open the door. So they did some really cool things with that, and also combining power-ups I think was a pretty cool idea as well. Because Can I ask a question about that?
To what extent does combining power-ups work? Is there a limited set, or can you combine any power, or what's the ratio on that?
It's kind of selective. I found that more characters that have a weapon, for example sword, combines with more than other things. Other things just tend to be more of a support-based kind of thing, if that makes sense. For example, I can have a sword and I can combine it with ice, with chili, and I can get the blizzard sword. But then with fire, you can't combine anything with fire in the terms of, oh, I'm Fire Kirby, I'm gonna have one of my guys give me some of their power up. It's, oh, hey, look, Ninja Kirby, I'm gonna use my fire on him so he can be, have this fiery sword.
Fire Ninja.
Yeah. I can't remember the exact name for him, because they, have their own kind of, thing.
They have their combo names.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's the base abilities, and then you can use the elemental abilities to power up the base abilities. So it's not as much Kirby 64 as it is maybe more Kirby Squeak Squad.
I mean, like, there are some things where it doesn't have to be, like, for example, if you have, like, water and ice, like, sometimes you can fire icicles, so you can do stuff like that, but no, it's a little bit more limited than that, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, at least it sounds like it's in between 64 Crystal Shards, and then Squeak Squad. Because Squeak Squad, it was like, the sword could be combined with fire, ice, and electricity, and the bombs could be combined with ice and electricity, and that was sort of it. You couldn't combine fire and bombs. You couldn't have fire bombs
they would just blow up.
Explode.
You can do water and bombs, which is kind of funny. I'm pretty sure you can.
But yeah. So yeah, it sounds like it's more in depth, but not quite as in depth.
It's like
I was kind of
middle.
hoping it would be like Kirby 64, where there's at least just some like useless ones, but like literally everything can be combined.
Yeah, no, not everything can be combined.
Is there a refrigerator, Kirby?
Yes.
There is?
So, okay.
Is it ice and electric?
No. So basically, it's not refrigerator Kirby in the sense of refrigerator Kirby, so you have to be the artist, and you can paint on a canvas because, you can there are canvases that you can paint on that give you stuff, or, like, Kirby just, as when he's the artist, he can put canvases down and, like, draw on them and, like, have, like, whatever drawing attack them, so, like, sometimes it's Meta Knight, sometimes it's DDD, sometimes it's Bandana D, but you can also, like, he puts the canvas down, he's like, refrigerator, and you get food.
Where did the Bandana D come from?
He's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Where did he come from? Like, I saw him in the trailer and I was like, that guy looks familiar, but I'm like, but what game is he from? And like, and since when has he been like this massive fan favorite character for him to make his grand return?
The timeline of his character is in Kirby 64. You got like teammates sort of throughout the game, and originally you were supposed to be able to play as them, but then they got just sort of sectioned off into these particular level things where you would do stuff with them. But one of the characters that sort of befriended you was this Waddle Dee, and he was just a regular Waddle Dee. And like sometimes he would give you food, or there were like certain like on rails like cart riding sections that you would do with him. And then I think coming off of that from Kirby Return to Dreamland, they were going very much for a Kirby 64 vibe in that sense, I think. So because they bring back DDD, and then they bring back a Waddle character, but they wanted to make him a little more iconic, so they give him a bandana, and they give him the new spear ability so that it gives people familiarity with one of the new abilities. And then they replace the painter with Meta Knight. Because Meta Knight's cool, even though I do like the painter a lot. And I think that's where Bandana D specifically comes from in that game as like a fourth player. And then Kirby Star Allies is basically as much of a direct sequel to Kirby Returns to Dreamland as like any other game. Like it's very clearly like based off of that style with like the 4-player thing. I think you can even play as Meta Knight, King Dedede, and Waddle Bandana D, right?
Yep. There is the, Dream Palace, and you can go into the Dream Palace, and you can... I think it does, a kind of, roulette as to who you're gonna get. Like, you don't have them right off the bat. You kind of, have to meet them, and then it'll prompt a thing like, you can see blah 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 in the Dream Palace, and be friends with him, and, he'll come on adventures with you.
I see, so you have to sort of unlock it.
Yeah, so, you're not gonna have DDD, right from the start. Like, alright, DDD, let's go fight you.
Another question I had, was in Returns to Dreamland, you can have everybody play as Kirby. Is that something you can do in this game?
I don't know, because I've never actually played with somebody else, but I don't think so. I think what it is that you befriend somebody and player 2 just takes that one, because I'm pretty sure in the commercials it was like that too, that it wasn't any other Kirby, it was just the one, and then all, player 2, 3, and 4 were just your buddies.
I just didn't know if, maybe they didn't put it in the promotional material just to focus on the new mechanic.
I'm not sure.
I feel like in Return to Dreamland, they also didn't really show that you could, by the way, the other players can also play as Kirby. So what else did you think about the game?
I like some of the animation choices that they did. Some of them are just really adorable. Like, for example, when you jump into, like, a thing, like a puddle of water or something, like a body of water. I don't know why I said puddle. They get, like, little floaty devices, and they are adorable. Like, when I had first saw Waddle Dee in a little floaty, I, like, lost it, because I thought it was, like, the cutest thing ever. And there's also a part, too, in one of the stages where there is a Waddle Dee, like, on this palm tree just, like, sleeping. And I was like, oh my god, like, I have a soft spot for, like, cute animation-y stuff. So I was like, oh my god, this is adorable. But yeah, they did, I think, just a phenomenal job with, animation and just overall level graphic design. It's just gorgeous.
Did you, play Return to Dreamland?
I can't remember. I've played some Kirby games, but not all of them, so the ones that I have and have not played kind of, like, blur together in my mind. It's like, oh, Kirby is a pink blob.
Have you played the other 4-player Kirby game? I feel like you would remember if you had.
I mean,
like, cause like the floating, like just cause like the Waddle Dee and like the Kirby floating in a little inner tube when you jump in the water is also from that game.
I don't
was
think so,
was Amazing Mirror also a multiplayer game potentially?
Yeah, but it was weird.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was
definitely not in the same way.
Was Amazing Mirror or was the other one? Amazing Mirror was the one with like the cell phones, wasn't it?
The one with the phone?
Yeah, like where Kirby had to like call his friends on the phone or something.
I liked that one.
Yeah, that was weird. And you
yeah,
couldn't do it all the time.
Weird. Was that a DS game
like
or was that a GBA game? I think it was a GBA game.
It's Game Boy Advance, yeah.
Okay.
It's a maze. It's weird. I didn't really like it very much. I didn't really like the maze level structure, but that's a podcast. That's for a different podcast.
I still don't think Kirby has ever had a bad game.
It's definitely my least favorite.
Like they're like mediocre, yes, but bad, I don't think so.
Anyway, so I agree that from what I've seen, the visual presentation looks stunning, which is to be expected because they did a really good job in that. In other modern Kirby games, and also in particular Returns to Dreamland, had a really good visual style. What did you think of gameplay?
Easy.
Very
easy.
It's a Kirby game.
They hand you out lives all the time.
Easy for a Kirby game, even?
No, I will agree. From what I've seen of this Kirby game is particularly easy. Like, it's not just regular Kirby easy. It's very, very,
because
very
you can get lives by, like, getting 100 stars, but they have stars literally everywhere. So it's, like, super easy to find them, pick them up.
Yeah, collectibles are a lot more plentiful.
The only time that I've ever died was by just outright doing stupid things, where I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have died to that boss, but oh, I wasn't watching my health and I was literally just letting him hit me and I was running into stuff because I was just like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, I've got like 80 some other lives, so what's losing one when I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not kidding you. Like, I have, I think, a good 80 lives in the game because it's not really hard to, I mean, there are some parts that do get a little bit tiny bit challenging, but not even like that hard. I think there was one part that I got stuck at, and by stuck at, I mean I died 3 times, and that was it. Other than that, it's been pretty much like smooth sailing where, oh, boss fight, okay, I died once, well, let's not be stupid next time, let's watch health, let's watch where projectiles are going, and we'll just take it from there. But yeah, it's just, they hand out lives. They're everywhere, because not only are there the stars, there are also the actual 1-ups that you can find. It's like, but I don't need it. Stop it.
Also, I've heard that the secrets have been a lot easier to find and collect in this game, too.
Absolutely.
That was the sort of, the dynamic that Kirby games used to have was, just playing the game and beating it is really easy, but if you want to get all the collectibles, there's some actually pretty tough challenges, and that does not seem to be the case with Star Allies.
So, you know how normally with the door to go to the next part of the level, you know how it's like yellow stars?
Mm-hmm.
If there's some kind of secret, usually it's like an orangey red kind of star art pattern around it, so it's kind of like
Returns to Dreamland too.
Yeah, so it's like, go here, there's a secret here. They're not really hard to find. It's not like they're really hidden. It's like, oh, hey, look, there's this branching path. Oh my god, there's a door here. Who would have guessed? And you go inside and you're like, yep, there's a switch. It's right out in the open. Click.
Right, because I remember even in Kirby Returns to Dreamland, like, there were some where it's like, oh yeah, there's the door, but like, oh, you've got to outpace this thing carrying the key to the thing that lets you get in, and sometimes that could be tricky, just to like do it fast enough. Mm-hmm. Or like, you have to get past this challenge where you have to carry something, and so you don't have access to your abilities. Or like you have to, like, time limits and stuff, or like having really particular powers that it's easy to lose on the way to the door or the secret or whatever.
There are sometimes when you're in the secret room, the power you need is literally sitting right there. It is not even an enemy. It's just, hey, tap the thing. You got the power. Now there you go. I mean, they do make use of the combining two abilities a lot, because those are super helpful in getting some of the secret-y stuff. But still, it's not like, oh, I gotta go back another time when I've got both of these power-ups with me. Just go out the door, find the one that you need, come back, boom, you're done.
That's one of the major complaints I've been hearing about the game, even from Kirby fans, is that it's, like, really, really easy.
It's just, yeah. I mean, other than that, I still think it's a pretty decent game, but it's just so easy.
I think it would be a lot more fun to play with people, because then at that point, the fact that it's easy isn't as big of a deal, and you can mess with it gives you more flexibility to mess with each other.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my god, I cannot tell you how inundated my YouTube feed has been with Kirby Star Allies, like, videos. Like, there is no end to it. Like, so clearly, like this game clearly lends itself, at least in some extent, or, you know, perhaps at least for a short amount of time, to just this super kind of just rompy, like, having fun with a bunch of friends kind of play style.
Which works well for the Switch, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll just have to see going forward how general opinion sort of settles on this. It hasn't been that long. I don't know. Is there anything else, Colee, that you wanted to add? Those were I already sort of brought up the other things that I thought.
I don't think there was really anything else that really caught my eye other than that.
Okay. So now let's just, to wrap things up, because we're a decent way into the podcast. I'm just going to go through the list of games that were sort of talked about on the Nintendo Direct. If you're an audience member listening, if I've skipped one, that's probably just because I asked and we didn't have anything to say about it and we skipped it. So, let's see. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story first, I think.
Heck yeah.
You were talking about that before, James.
Oh, yeah.
How are you feeling about this coming out on 3DS?
I mean, I'm kind of mixed. Like, I am still excited because I'll be honest, it's mostly the art style that I dislike about these series. Like, I am not a fan of the 3DS Mario and Luigi series art style. I mean, obviously I'm biased because my favorite art style is Bowser's Inside Story. Like, that is my favorite art style and just general aesthetic that the series has had. But I really like the original Bowser's Inside Story. Ask me anytime, ask me anything about it. It is one of my favorite games ever. And being able to play it on my 3DS with, better looking, maybe higher res graphics, and potentially with extra scenes and, bonus content, I am looking forward to it. As much as I dislike the visual aesthetic, just the chance to be able to play that game again, perhaps with just, at the very least, with a fresh coat of paint, and with the new kind of sub-mode, kind of like they did with Superstar Saga, and the Bowser's Minions, getting that old bonus mode tacked on, and to get to see kind of like little, almost kind of fan servicey moments, kind of little references and other fun stuff that they throw in. I really enjoyed that in the Superstar Saga remake. So I am just generally, I would say overall, I am actually quite excited to see that that's happening. I don't know why, however, they skip Partners in Time. Because if any of these games in the series needed a remake, it was Partners in Time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah?
Go for it.
Why does everybody hate Partners in Time so much?
I don't know.
Now let me finish. I agree that it is of the 3 first Mario and Luigi games, It's probably the worst. I haven't actually played much of Superstar Saga, but I have played like halfway through it with a friend's copy back in the day, and I played all of Bowser's Inside Story, which I agree is better. But I didn't think it was that much worse. Like, I would probably, like, I might need to think about it, but at least relatively speaking, I would put, like, the rest of the series that I've played at, like, 8 out of 10, and in Partners in Time at 7 out of 10. And it seems like the game seemed in similar quality. It might be a little bit worse, but for some reason, everybody's like, yeah, no, that's the bad one. And, like, it's just normal.
Yeah, I honestly don't get that. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Partners in Time, but I like the game. Like, it has tons of good stuff in there. Would I prefer, several of the other games over it? Absolutely. But do I think it is in any way a bad game? No. Is it maybe not up to par with some of the, the other two games? Yeah, but I wouldn't call it bad. It's got fantastic music, and, as par for the course for the series, it has fantastic writing. The writing is always amazing in these games. And the graphics are, although I'm not a huge fan of, like, the style, like, Mario and Luigi's sprites they just don't look quite right to me, but like, the animations are all really well done. The bosses and the fights and, like, the combat is all still, it's all intact. They added some new mechanics and stuff, and I liked what they did with a lot of the battle mechanics and such. I honestly don't know what it is. I can't remember. It's been a while since I looked up, some, like, threads discussing why people didn't like that game, but I honestly think that is a severely underrated game, and that's actually part of the reason why I said if any of these games in the original 3 Mario and Luigi series needed a remake, it was Partners in Time, because Partners in Time is the one that nobody played, but it's also the game that everybody seems to dislike for no good reason. And I think that game, of all three of them, because Superstar Saga, everybody knew about that game. That's the first one. That one, honestly, it was nice that it got a remake, but it didn't necessarily need the extra exposure. I think Partners in Time is the most due to get some extra exposure for audiences, because I really think that a lot more people, if they would play that game, they would see that it is not a bad game. It's still a good game. And it kind of boggles my mind that Nintendo would skip right over it to remake Bowser's Inside Story when arguably that's the best of the non-3DS Mario and Luigi games. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm looking through here. There's a lot of ports, and I think we've kind of touched on ports enough for this podcast. And just in general, with the general Switch discussion, I think people have a pretty good idea of how they feel about ports. So I'm going to try to focus on new games. Octopath Traveler. Ooh. I just want to say real quick that it was cool to see the updates on this game. It looks interesting, like this whole 8-player like thing. I think it's funny that I think they released the test title a little bit too early, and now they're stuck with it because that's just what everybody knows the game as now, and they can't change the name. Because I think it was like, this is a dumb name, it's just really literal, but it's our working title. And then it's like, oh yeah, Octopath Traveler, and marketing's like, guys, everybody already knows this game is called Octopath Traveler, we have to stick with this now. And they're like, I guess, okay. But I think it'll be interesting to see how it develops, and like how its mechanics and like double job system works. That sounds really cool, but also like that's all I can really say about it because the game hasn't come out yet and they didn't go into a lot of detail about it. But that definitely seems like an interesting concept.
The only thing I'll say about it is when they first announced Octopath Traveler, I was like, meh, looks alright. But then at this Nintendo Direct, when I looked at it again, I was like, actually, no, this game looks pretty good, and I'm probably going to get it.
Another thing that we might want to talk about briefly, Mario Tennis Aces.
Oof.
As someone who played the Game Boy Advance Mario Tennis, which is the one that everybody references as like, had a weirdly in-depth single-player mode. It's interesting to see like them trying to go all out with this tennis game. I don't know if I'll buy it.
Oh, I want to.
It's interesting to see them going, like, they're definitely, like, not pulling their punches. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, here's Mario with the tennis racket. Like, they're really trying to be cool. They're putting their all
into it.
Like, oh, the racket can break, and like, I thought that was an interesting concept. And you can do like the aiming thing.
Right, because they don't want the games to go on forever.
Right.
Because when you're playing like a computerized, like digital thing, like this, they have to make it easier for you to hit because it's just like, did you press the button at the right time? So I think this idea of like, eventually, depending on how strong and aggressive you play, the game will have to come to an end. I think that's an interesting move. I don't know if all this effort is going to pay off, though. I don't see a lot of people who are like, yeah, tennis!
I don't know. Like, I loved tennis on the Wii. Like, that was like the last time I'd played it.
I also thought that there was like, remember the Mario Strikers? Mm-hmm. Like, didn't that also get like a decent amount of hype behind it?
Mario Strikers Charged happened.
Yeah, Mario Strikers was interesting because it was like kind of soccer, but they like tried to put this like not just like, oh, it's Mario playing soccer. They went with this really like stylized like
it was like extreme. It was extreme soccer.
It's like they put a Shadow the Hedgehog coat of paint on a Mario soccer game.
Kind of. It was just like a super. It's like, this is hardcore soccer. It's like
Mario Rocket League 1.
Yeah.
I think that's already kind of a thing. I think there are Mario skins for Rocket League.
There are, but how funny would that be if you had, like, the characters? No, we're not getting into that.
Yeah, oh god.
So that's
I smell a bad Unity game in the making.
I think if we hear more about it, we'll talk about it more, but I think
hilarious.
That's good. The other really big thing, they spent a lot of time on Splatoon 2.
Oh god. Like,
that must be doing really well. Splatoon must be doing really well for Nintendo because they put all this DLC into it, and they had all this pomp and circumstance, and then it was related to did anybody else while they were watching the Nintendo Direct, and it got to the end, like, we have one more announcement, and then it was like Splatoon, and I was like, we were just doing this for like 10 minutes.
I'll be honest, I like. Do you mean like the league or whatever, like the open like thing for Splatoon?
I like when the lead in to the Smash Brothers reveal, where it was just Splatoon for a little bit.
So when I first saw that, when I just like saw the blue and the orange ink, for a second I thought Portal, and I'm like, no, that makes no sense. I was like, no, they wouldn't do that. But I mean, I don't know. To me, it makes sense that they would like showcase, the Inklings to lead up to Smash, because, they put so much time and effort into Splatoon 2. Like, that game constantly gets, like, new weapons and maps and attention. Like, they do the Splatfest all the time, so, I mean, they put a lot of love into it, too, and the fans love them for it.
It's just interesting, because, like, this is, like, where I feel like an old man, where I'm like, I'm not Splatoon 2's demographic. And I think it's cool that people are so much into it, and I'm kind of excited in, like, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes for stuff like this to happen, when we'll suddenly have a lot of people who are like, yeah, I played Splatoon and Splatoon 2 all the time growing up. It was so great. It was such a fundamental part of my childhood. Because, like, I feel like that's where we're leading, because it seems like such a solid brand for Nintendo now.
I know so many people who play it.
Because ARMS was not that.
No.
ARMS and Splatoon were sort of I feel like in the same sort of like bucket of like, we're gonna try some new things, and Splatoon 2 worked, and Splatoon worked, and ARMS did not. I think ARMS is like said like, yeah, we're not adding anything else to this game.
Well, I saw part of the Nintendo Direct, like, was talking about like
it was an invitational. Yeah, it was, but they've said ARMS isn't getting any more new content. It was just like a tournament thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think ARMS was kind of like, I don't know, ARMS was a launch title, so I feel like ARMS was, like, meant, I don't think they necessarily planned for ARMS to do incredibly well.
Or 1-2
considering it's not an established series, I feel like they probably didn't expect it to do super well.
I don't know, I just feel like it was sort of in the same bucket as as Splatoon was originally, where they were trying to like have a new thing and it just didn't hit the same way Splatoon did. But I'm psyched that like people are into it and it's getting this cool expansion stuff. I think what I've heard most people saying is that like how much it's like $20 or something, and like people are like it better be like, you know, fairly substantial if it's going to be $20. But yeah, I think that covers Nintendo Direct stuff. If you have any questions for us, obviously you can leave a comment on the podcast, send us an email, podcast@GameCola.net. We'll talk about that more later at the show notes. But I want to move on to the next big topic thing, since we've spent so much time on this. We got new details about the Mega Man TV show today.
Yay.
Super fighting robots. Wait, no.
No, not that one. I'm gonna send you guys an image in the chat.
Oh,
this
yeah.
image in
Whoa.
particular.
What happened to his face?
Well, what? That looks like a bad Photoshop.
It's the composition of this picture, maybe not the best, but it does have a lot of interesting details. And there's also been some interesting plot details that have been revealed. So first of all, this picture, which I'll either include a link to it in the show notes or it'll be in the header image or something like that. We've got the Mega Man design, which is about what I expect.
It kind of looks like X almost, like with the little light,
yeah,
the gemstone on the end of his, on the end of the little line in the middle of the helmet.
I think they've been going for like a combination classic X design and then like...
Yeah. Lots of smooth lines though.
Yeah, I think
lots of smooth curves. I like that.
It's like new Pokemon. Like, have you ever seen like if Charizard was made like now and it's got like all these extra details and stuff? Like it's because it's taking like saying, now wait, the original Mega Man, his simplistic design was really because of like the fact that he was an NES character and he needed to be able to be represented really clearly. But since you've got this medium, like having these curved lines would also help. Like I think it'll help define shape and like, you know, lines of action and like movement. Like all these curved, smooth lines really are probably helpful from an animation standpoint. Also, I think like the way the helmet wraps around his head, I think that's just going to be easier to animate. As someone who has tried to draw the weird 3D like helmet that has like the little points that jut out under the chin, that doesn't read very well in a lot of cases. And so I think like making it this like more strap on sort of like face cover.
Yeah, it's like it's a more like form fitting kind of design.
Mm-hmm. And I think it also speaks to like the idea of how like this is a transformation in like a suit. Looking at some of the details for the press release, there's one line in particular.
Fireman's design in the background looks really cool.
Yeah, I like it's they've definitely gone different.
Like they're not like all the faces aren't the same anymore. Like especially in the original Mega Man, literally all of the Robot Masters had just this one generic face.
Yeah.
Like, they all had the same generic, like, sprite for their face, and it's neat to see, like, an Iceman's design, like, he looks like he's, like, super skinny and stuff, and is that I can't tell if that's a Lek-Man to the right of him in the image.
I think most people are thinking it's either Bubble Man or Wave Man, because it looks like he's got flippers.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And he's also blue, so it's
who's
like
the one up?
water.
Oh, is that Hornet Man up in the top left?
It's Mercy from Overwatch.
Oh, and then we got Drill Man. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, this thing where it's, like, the Robot Masters, but bigger. That's sort of, you got that going on. Iceman looks kind of weird, but he's also small, so maybe it'll look better
it's hard
close
to
up.
see.
So, looking at the promotional material, some interesting points. The main character is named Aki Light, which we already knew, and it's not Rock, which might make sense for some other stuff that I'll talk about in a minute. But one of the things I noticed is that it says, Aki is a normal, upbeat schoolboy robot who has nanocore technology that allows him to transform into the mega-powered superhero Mega Man. So, I don't know if this was, maybe they've gone back on this, maybe it's changed, or maybe they just weren't clear about it before, but Mega Man is a robot through and through. They do talk about his alter ego, so I don't know if it's going to be like a secret. I don't know if he's going to be pretending to be human, or if he's just not going to be pretending to be Mega Man, or maybe it's not a secret. I feel like it's gonna be like a secret though, because it just seems like the style of the show that they're going for, and the fact that they call it an alter ego.
Oh, I don't know. I think,
but
I guess alter ego, like, I guess does kind of imply secrecy, but also, see, the funny thing is that when you were explaining that, like, you said he has, like, nanocore technology, like, that actually made me think, like, for some reason, because I do know that one of the, some of the writers for this are actually the writers from Ben 10. Mm-hmm. And that actually, it seems like I would guess that it's probably going to have at least some similarities to how that whole thing worked. Like, I don't know too much about Ben 10. I don't remember very much. But I would imagine that there's probably going to be some similarities to that show.
Yeah.
And it seems like this concept of him, like, being a normal kid, quote unquote, and then turning into Mega Man. I mean, obviously, you know, the whole being a hidden superhero, that is not a Mega Man or Ben 10 exclusive concept. That is not a new idea by any stretch of the imagination. That is like a massive trope even. But I kind of feel like they might handle it kind of similar.
Yeah, it's another thing because here later, and it says it sort of restates. I don't know, some of in this particular press release, it's kind of redundant. But it says, who discovers that deep within his programming lies the secret protocols that can transform him into the powerful Mega Man. So, like, there's going to be some mystery there. We haven't heard from, like, how Dr. Light factors in to this. There's also so Rush is going to be there. We still haven't seen Rush, but they've been very adamant that Rush is going to be in this show. They've said that from, like, the very beginning. But that's the only one that they've mentioned. Then we've got Mega Mini, which if you've done research into some of the, like, leaked promotional material that's sort of made it around, that I don't want to show because I think, like, people who have been posting it have been getting asked to take it down. But if you've seen it, you've seen Mega Mini. It's interesting. I think it's just going to be a character that helps state what's going on with the superpowers a bit. Like, it seems to be like he's, like, in Mega Man's brain, quote unquote, and, like, might be responsible for, like, hey, I need this weapon, and he's like, okay, I'll go do that, Mega Man. And maybe just, like, a visualization to help younger kids understand what's actually going on. And then they've also bring up a character, which I don't know if they've brought up before, named Sunalite. I think Suna, because I think they're going for the Japanese vibe, and Suna sounds a little silly. I don't know if that's replacing Roll. Some people have thought that the angel mercy-looking character in the top left of this picture is Sunalite. It suggests that she is either...
So that's not Hornet Man in the top left?
I don't know.
Because that's like the first thing I think of is like Hornet Man when I see that, like, with the wide base. Like, I don't know.
Maybe, but it looks kind of more like a dress than a stinger.
Well, I didn't say it was a stinger. It's like it's not. It's like a kind of a actually, yeah. I guess that isn't really too similar, but
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it is. It looks more like Vespi Queen than Hornet Man.
I don't know if it's going to be like Roll. The fact that they share a last name makes it seem like they're related in some way. I don't know if they're going to go straight for the brother-sister angle, or if they're just going to be both have been made by Dr. Light. I really hope they don't go the love interest route, personally, but that's just me. Especially if they have the same last name. That would be weird.
Yeah.
But that might be like their answer to Roll, especially since they haven't brought it up. And it would make sense if they were going to change Roll's name, that they would also change Mega Man's name from Rock, because that wouldn't make any sense without Roll being Roll wouldn't make sense without Rock being Rock. So that might be it. Though if that is Suna Light up in the top left, that's a pretty drastic change. Like even looking at the changes that they did to the other Robot Masters, like that's very different. So that just might be a female Robot Master that they've added for the show, which would be neat. That's sort of it. We're expected to get more details in April, because they've been talking about showing it at there's a certain TV show, trade show sort of event in about after this podcast comes out, it'll be in about a week. and it's just like TV shows. And it says it's going to air on Cartoon Network sometime later this year. I wouldn't necessarily trust that a whole lot, because I think it was stated at some point that the show is going to be out last year. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But that's sort of the update to this. So yeah, I'm excited though. I think I'm going to be into it. Like I've said before, like I like Ruby. I like the Ruby Spears Mega Man, warts and all. Even if this is like quote unquote a bad show, I think I'll still enjoy it. And it's just really cool to be getting Mega Man content, especially with Mega Man 11 also coming out sort of around this time. Like, even if it's bad, I think I'll still enjoy watching it. But yeah, I'll be sure to keep you updated with anything else that I know, going forward. And with that, why don't we move on to games we've been playing in recent times? Have we been playing games in recent times?
I mean, I have been playing. I've recently started playing both Persona Q on the 3DS, which I've been enjoying, and I've also recently started Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne on PS2.
Have you been enjoying those video games?
Yes, quite a bit. I just don't really have... Well, I mean, I've been enjoying Persona Q. I only just started Nocturne, and it's just very bizarre.
Why is it called Persona Q?
Because they couldn't say... because they didn't want to go full Kingdom Hearts and go Persona 3 and 4, or 3-4, or 3 divided by 4, or whatever stupid naming conventions they do.
That could have... 3.5 would have been at least okay.
Well, I guess, but...
As someone who likes the Lion King 1.5...
I don't know, that makes it sound more like it's a sequel to 3.
I don't know.
Because it's not a sequel to 3. It has the characters from 3, but it also has all the characters from 4. I just call it Persona Q, because the full name is Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth, so I usually just call it Persona Shadow of the Labyrinth, which is, I don't think that's a very common thing. I don't think most people call it that, but that's just what I call it, just because...
So how does it... So it's sort of like a thing that relates Persona 3 and 4 together?
Yeah, I don't actually know whether it's... I think it might be canon. I don't remember if it is, because it's... If it is, it might just be retconned at the end or whatever. I really don't know. Because it's basically just, the characters from Persona 3 and Persona 4 are, like, just sucked into a new dimension or something. And, like, they have to work together. It's basically just a fan service game for fans of Persona 3 and or Persona 4. And it just complete with a completely new dungeon, like, mechanic system. So... They just completely overhaul, like, the way you explore dungeons and stuff. It's no longer in, like, a third-person perspective where you're, like, attacking monsters and stuff, like, just running around freely. It's now, like, a first-person, like, old-school, a first-person dungeon crawler kind of grid system. So, it's been pretty neat.
Colee, what about you? What video games have you been playing?
I've been playing Kirby Star Allies, and then not any, like, new games, but I've played them a lot before. I've been playing Pokken Tournament and Minecraft.
Yeah, I've been playing that a lot too.
Right, so you guys have both been getting back into Minecraft?
Yeah, that's how I kind of do it, is I just kind of go in and out with
Same.
Minecraft. I just kind of, it's like, oh, hey, I find this really cool again, and it just kind of, on and off kind of basis.
It helps when you're playing with friends. Because the one server that I'm in is with a bunch of old, like, college friends. So we've all been kind of, like, playing together. And then, I was actually streaming it, and James was asking me about it, and he was just like, oh man, like, Minecraft is like, yeah, we could totally play together. So
yeah, we've been playing together.
Have you guys found yourself being, like, overwhelmed by, like, all the stuff that changes in between, like, your interest in the game? Because I know that's happened to me a couple times where I've, like, come back and I've been like, wow, there's a lot of new things here.
Part of it is when the new update hits that kind of sparks the interest to go play again. It's like, ooh, new things. Let's see what this new thing's about. Like, I think in the next update of Minecraft there are... I can't remember. They're doing different stuff with wood, I think. I can't remember if they're making a new one or just making different textures for it. But they're also doing some changes with water.
Oh yeah, they're overhauling water.
And they're adding dolphins. So now there'll be dolphins in Minecraft.
I have been finishing up Advance Wars 2 between the times that I have for it. I think I'm on, I've seen 4 sections of the game. I think there's a 5th final section where you, beat the bad guys proper. I'm in there's, orange, blue, yellow, and green countries, and right now I'm in green. Green Country hasn't been that much fun. It gives you these, if you don't remember from last podcast, the idea of Advance War 2 is you play as all these different commanders of these armies in a, Fire Emblem-esque turn-based strategy game where you're moving units around. And they're, these last ones, they're these levels where you have to, destroy these cannons, and they have, 99 health. And, there's this plane one in particular where it's just so tedious to blow up all these things because it takes at least 2 turns, if not 3, to blow up any individual one. And you're in these planes, so you have to position really carefully and you have to go really slow, and it's just not fun. And I think honestly I'm gonna look up a guide, not because I don't think I could figure it out, but because I don't want to put in the long amount of time it would take to figure out how to do this and then execute it, because it's just it's all symmetrical, so you just do the same thing and it just takes forever. And I feel the game's kind of slowing down because the added difficulty is coming from just this stuff that takes longer to do. And I'm hoping that changes sort of going forward into more units versus units instead of units versus big thing that can take a lot of damage. But hopefully I will have finished that by the time we get to next podcast. I'm also planning on playing Breath of the Wild finally for the first time over this upcoming break my school has. My friend with a Switch is going out of town, and I've traded her Mario Odyssey because she just beat Breath of the Wild. So I'm trading her my copy of Mario Odyssey, and she's giving me her copy of Breath of the Wild, and we're both going to save $60.
Are you going to, trade back, or are you just going to...
Yeah, I'm going to trade back when we're done. Because I'm probably not going to play Breath of the Wild indefinitely, but I'll definitely play Mario Odyssey indefinitely. Right. But I definitely want to play it, just because it's been such a big game last year. And the year-end awards are going to come up soon. And it'll be good to have played at least 2 video games from last year.
Right.
But yeah, that's sort of where I am. And I think I'm ready to call it a podcast if you guys are.
Yeah.
Fine.
This has been a very just well-structured, well-organized. We hit our points, we did our thing, and now that's the end of the podcast. So thanks for listening, everybody. We said all the things we set out to say, and it worked out in a major way. Okay, it's time for the show notes at the end. Thanks for listening to the GameCola Podcast. I'm going to stop singing now because it's just kind of falling apart. If you liked what you heard, be sure to check us out on our actual internet website, GameCola.net, where we post other podcasts and articles. Please check out The Secret of Mana RPG Cast. It's a lot of fun. It comes out every 2 weeks, and I've been having a blast. I get to play a comic relief character finally, and it's my dream. It's everything I hoped it would be, and you should listen to it because it's great. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel if you're not already there. GC.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, and the word net. Subscribe to us and you'll get all sorts of playthroughs. All our podcasts get posted there. Live stream archives when we have them. All cool stuff like that. So yeah, be sure to check that out and subscribe. If you're interested in social media type stuff, if you want social media updates for when we post new content, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search GameCola and look for the guy that's face is a G, and that's probably us. It's definitely us, unless I don't think there's anyone masquerading as us.
You don't know that?
I don't think that's
hope
a
not.
thing. I think we would have run into them by now.
Yeah.
Because there's not a swath of large scale GameCola content for them to hide behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you can find us. You can listen to Anna tell you cool things about what's going on at GameCola. If you like the podcast, the best thing that you can do for us, the absolute best, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time and you're like, how can I help this podcast that I like so much? The 2 biggest things you can do are go to iTunes, subscribe to us there, and rate us highly and leave us a good review so that other people know how great a podcast you think this is. And tell your friends. If you've got a friend that you think would be interested in what we talked about in the Nintendo Direct today, another topic that we talked about in another podcast, or just this video game news-ish discussionist podcast in general, point them our way. And we'd love to hear more people interested in our show. So that's the best way you can help us. And if you want to hear us answer your questions on podcast, be sure to email us at podcast@GameCola.net or leave us a comment on Facebook and Twitter, and we will answer your question, make it a topic, and we'll have a great grand old time. Thanks again for sticking around and listening to this month's podcast. We'll see you next month. Have a great time of day wherever it is that you are listening to this, and we will see you soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Man, we're getting close to 120. We're on 119.
Here we go.
What's 120? Like
It's
what
just
significance
a nice
is
number.
that?
It's just a nice, good number, James.
Oh. Oh, okay. I thought it was like, oh, this is our...
It's divisible by 10. It's divisible by 60. It's divisible by 2, 3, 4, 5.
Math with Joe.
6.
Let's go.
Maybe 8. I don't know.
And 12.
Probably not 8. Definitely not 9.
Divisible by 12.
Well, yes, obviously. It is divisible by 8 and 15. It's a very good number, James. And
I mean,
I'm glad we
very
already have-
large
I'm
numbers
glad we
like that tend to be, large even numbers tend to be divisible by a lot of things.
I'm glad we've already gotten our end of podcast bumper.
There we go.
Good work, team.